So I'm like, oh, there it is. Okay, guys, I'm going to be switching over real quick right now to the main screen we've got. So I'm going to do that right now so people don't get sick because that's kind of terrifying. Do that now. Okay, cool. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about and discussing what I think is extremely important. Every month, the Texas Realtor puts out a magazine, which is just a fantastic magazine. And there's just tons and tons of data, tons and tons of great information for real estate professionals to use that no one ever opens. So this is kind of my way of making sure you see some of the highlights, see the value, see what you can get out of it. And from there, maybe you'll crack it every once in a while, since it's not a free magazine that comes to you. It's a magazine you pay for with your dues. And that's something that is extremely important to remember. Anything free is of no value. This is not free. You pay for this. And there's some great tools you can get out of this. So I just handpick a couple of items I think is interesting, things it's great to touch on. But there's a lot more in there that is available. The first section that we're going to go over is kind of a ask the surveyor question. And I think surveys are definitely one of those things that we put very little effort or thought into in a real estate transaction, and it's got to change. I think the article actually makes a very great point. They interviewed Robert Keys out of Amarillo about issues that surveyors are seeing, problems that they're having, things that we don't even think about, because this is more often than not, you're going to see, okay, I need to get a survey. Do you have a survey? No. Okay, I guess we'll just order a new one. Bam, it's done. We don't think about it. We don't look at it. All those things. Surveys have some huge information in there. Some of the main questions that he talks about is most common toxins that you deal with. Cost is a huge issue. Surveyors are in a huge upheaval right now because in Texas, we are allowed to use private surveys as long as nothing has changed in the survey. That's great for us. But if you're a businessman and they say, hey, you can use your survey from the last 10 to 15 years as long as you haven't made any changes, it's kind of hard to make a living. So they're seeing fewer and fewer people going into the surveying industry because it's a very difficult profession, as well as it requires a lot of training, which is fantastic. And it's good for us that we have really quality surveys, but nobody wants to do that work for the return. Price is a huge thing. The issues that you have is we just think survey, it's a survey, we need to get a survey. We don't think about the fact that there are purely boundary surveys. There are full-on surveys that the TLTA surveys that the title company the lender is going to require. As well, surveyors are used quite often and are godsend when it comes to things like flood zones. If we need to get something to prove that we have an elevation higher than the flood zone area, we can get an elevation certificate from a surveying company. So there's a lot of great tools and opportunities that we don't think of until we need to think of it. And that's why it's just kind of a neat little read. Biggest issue surveyors are facing is right now is disgruntled buyers, and this is something that we see often. Don't ever tell a client, just sign a T47 affidavit, and no matter what changes you've made. If it's been 15 years and you've made an alteration to that property, you need to make sure you are aware of what you've made. The T47 affidavit itself is something that most real estate professionals either don't understand, don't deal with, don't know where to find. And that is a requirement along with the survey. A notarized T47 affidavit has to be turned into the buyer within a certain number of days, agreed upon between the buyer and the seller. And we don't do a good job of that from what I see in the marketplace that I'm in. But you can't go to your seller and say, hey, fill it out, just say that everything's changed and you're good to go. You have to make sure, because when the buyer comes in later and says, hey, this wall wasn't, there's a wall that's not showing on here, or there's a swimming pool or a shed or something, you've now sworn under oath in front of a notary that nothing has changed, but something has changed. So it's very difficult to make sure you're doing it correctly. Now they're going after and trying to get mad at the surveyors who are like, hey, I did this survey 12 years ago. 12 years ago, there wasn't a wall there. So it's a huge thing. Don't ever, ever, ever tell your clients, just sign it and you're good to go, because that is definitely not the true case. If they have made alterations to that property, they have to disclose those alterations in the T47, or they have to order a new survey. And that's just the way it is. I've had people come up and say, well, I have a survey from 1967. Well, we're probably going to need a new one. It's just realistic. And guys, as expensive they are, they're not too expensive in the cost of what you're getting and how you're doing it. So be thoughtful, be aware, and respect the fact that surveyors have a job to do. They're well trained in what they do, and take a value in that. What do you wish realtors knew about your business? No one understands you don't. You just don't go out, find a boundary corner, and start. Sometimes they have to go and do serious amounts of research to find out where that true lot line is and how it works. A lot of times the builders are off, and the surveyor is the one who shows this rock wall is off, this easement is off, whatever it is. And it's extremely important to know what is available and what is not. So it's not going out there, taking cube measurements and calling it a day. They have to do some true research and understanding what they're saying, because they're putting it out there of, this is the value, this is where it's going to be at, and this is how it's going to work. What makes things run more smoothly? Communication. When you don't know, and before you assume something, call a surveyor, title company, or escrow officer, or land title attorney. You assume you know everything about what's going on, but sometimes you don't. So it's just something to think about when you're in there, in that process of the surveyor, or needing a survey, or trying to use an old survey, making sure we're crossing all of our T's, dotting all of our I's, and we know what we're getting into. Because you don't want to put your seller or you or anyone else in a situation of, this is the survey, nothing's changed. The buyer gets it and it's completely different. Now, they should review that prior to closing, obviously. So this is also a conversation for the buyer's agents. If you're getting a survey from the other agent, make sure you're looking at it. Does it look like what you remember it seeing? Does it have all the walls it's supposed to have, the concrete it's supposed to have, the planters, the sheds? Does everything look correct on that survey? Because your buyer is getting it and saying, this is how I'm accepting this house. So definitely things to think about on that. There's also a really good one about rebooting your relationship with technology. It's just some great tips on there about how to work things, what to do, how to do it, that you can go through with. Social media, definitely a huge part of our world right now, our marketing world. And it's something that's a great point. You need to track engagement, not just likes. Especially me. I mean, people like my video. I'm cool with it. I understand. I get it. You got to look at this space. Not the pretty space to look at. But what engagement are you getting? Are you getting conversation? The greatest responses, the greatest feels I get, it's when someone writes underneath it, hey, great class. Thank you so much. Someone comes up to me later and says, hey, that was a wonderful class. I really appreciate it. It gives us a great opportunity to say, hey, people are seeing a value in what you're doing. It's showing, it's giving you growth. Well, I love it so much when even my agents come up to me and say, hey, you just talked about this last week. This is a situation I'm in. It's exactly what I'm going through. Thank you. It's awesome. It's a great feeling for us. But what engagement are you getting in your social media? Is it just likes? Is it your mom liking it? Or is it your clients or your future clients out there seeing the value that you are providing? So don't just chase likes, chase true engagement. As we're seeing, as you guys should be seeing, video attracts more people. A photo is not going to do it nearly as much as a post. As a video post. It says, instead of taking a picture of your clients saying, hey, they just bought a house, have them do a quick 10, 15 second video. I went blank on the word I'm looking for here. A survey saying how great of a job, how smooth the transaction was and how great of a job you did. If you can get that, post that, it's going to have a lot more engagement and sincerity than you just doing a picture of them holding the key in front of the house or whatever you've got going in that regard. Live streaming is even better. We're doing live streaming now. The problem with live streaming is it's live. Things can go wrong. Things can make mistakes. You're going to stutter more. But there's a truth in that people will see value in and see the greatness of. Where if it's completely polished, it's perfect, it feels off, especially in Facebook timeframes. Don't waste time. Get in there, post it, get on with your day. Social media marketing should be a piece of your marketing, but not all of it. If you're sitting there playing with all of the figures and trying to find out tracking and spending too much time with that, you're losing time having real world interactions with your clients. So be careful about just spending all of your time in one or two areas. Better education, go out there and take classes. The associations, your local, your state, and your national associations are putting on some fantastic classes for you. Are you taking advantage of them? Are you learning? Are you getting some key insights about how to do it and where to do it? Don't just jump on board to something too soon. Learn it. Understand, because it's going to be live, because it's going to be out there, make sure it's kind of as professional as you can make it. Make sure it looks pretty good. Find a mentor. Find someone who's doing it that you can talk to and have questions about. Luckily, Brian walks us through this process because it's not my greatest cup of tea. And having someone that you can talk to about, hey, this is what I've got going on. It doesn't have to be someone in your office. It doesn't have to be someone in the same city you live in. Find someone you can get with and have that conversation with, and it makes it go a long way. Security is huge right now, guys. People are attacking real estate agents and real estate industries hard. The fake text messages, the fake things. If you haven't taken that 1-hour class about wire fraud, it'll keep you up at night. It's just a terrifying thing that's available out there that's going on. But making sure that you're getting that as well, making sure you're using a VPN to secure your internet traffic, huge opportunities in making sure you're taken care of. Making sure your emails are not getting hacked yet. Outlook and Gmail offer optional encryption that you need to make sure is being taken care of and worked on to make sure that no one is in there hacking your clients and sending stuff out for you. A better future, the world is continuously changing. I think we'll all agree. I can't think of many dinner parties where I'm not sitting there and someone doesn't say, hey, Alexa, is this true? Where people are using the voice option on things so much more. And we're seeing more voice interactions happening with our industry. So be aware of what's going on, what's going to change. Real estate has changed so much in the last 3 years and will continue to change. You have to continuously adapt and change what you're doing. If we were still doing what we were doing when I joined the real estate side in 2005, we'd be out of business. There's just no way we could be doing it. You have to continuously change what you're doing, how you're doing it, and why you're doing it, and that way you're growing. So just things to think about on the social media side in that area. All-in-one systems are coming, but they're not here yet. You may have to use multiple platforms to see what you want to do. Making sure that it's got all of the bells and whistles is great, but if you're spending too much time with it. Next, does the tech work for you? They recommend take a year and actually evaluate the system and see, does it help you? Does it make your business easier? Does it make it faster? Does it make it more productive? And if no, then you shouldn't be doing it. But you've got to put some serious effort and energy in it to make sure how it's working. Now, this is the most important one, I think. Go where the clients are. I was actually in a meeting this weekend where we were talking to people and they said, I have to use 5 different modes of communication. Some people like email, some people like text message, some people like TikTok, some people like Facebook, some people like smoke signals, whatever it is, everybody has a different thing. You need to have that conversation with your client and say, listen, how do you want to get responses? I will tell you as a real estate broker, and I've been a real estate broker for many years, the number one, by far, absolute number one complaint I receive from clients, from agents, no communication, lack of communication. And that is the simple thing of setting those expectations early. When you first meet your client, okay, how do you like to receive information? Would you prefer may I text you? Would you prefer I call you? Would you prefer an email? I'm going to contact you every Thursday. Does that work for you? Does it require more? Some people will say, some people need more conversation, more hits, some people less. They'll find out what they want. If they don't use email and they don't read emails and you email them, as far as they're concerned, you have not contacted them because they're not reading their email. Find out what they're using and how they're using it. Don't try to push them to come to your system. Make sure that you know and they know where they're going to go to get this information. How is it going to come in and where is it going to come from? That is a huge opportunity. And the other thing is schedule an appointment. If I say I'm going to contact you every Friday around 5 o'clock, every Friday around 5 o'clock, I better call that person, because if I don't call them, I didn't do my job. I don't care if the answer is no one has looked at your house in a week. I need to call them and say, just so you know, no one has looked at your house in a week. Maybe this is a great opportunity to discuss pricing structures. It's a great opportunity to discuss new marketing ideas. But if you say you're going to do something, you better do it. I'm a firm believer in, I have a great verbiage, but again, it's lost my head. I want to under-promise and over-deliver. Came back. I always want to under-promise and over-deliver. I'm going to tell you, listen, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do 2 or 3 steps above that. If I say I'm going to do 1,000 things and I do 995, then I didn't do my job. If I say I'm going to do 5 things and I do 25, I'm amazing. Under promise, over deliver. If you say I'm going to call you, you better call someone. Even if the answer is, I don't have any news to tell you. I told you I'd call you. This is our scheduled time. I'm calling you. Do you have any questions for me? A lot of times we are afraid to make a phone call where if we make it, our lives will be a whole lot easier, but we're afraid to say no. The harder the call is to make, the faster you need to make it. So you don't have time to stew on it, to worry about, to freak out. Oh my gosh, this is what's going on. How do I handle it? Now for the interesting one. Last month we talked about the buyer survey. This month we've got the seller survey in. Some really interesting data I'm really excited to kind of see. So we're going to be going over this as well. Texas home sellers. We talked about the buyers. Why are the sellers selling? Top reasons for selling: move closer to friends and family, job relocation, home is too small or home is too large. Those are your top 4 reasons. This one kind of shocked me. The median distance from home sold to home purchased, 34 miles, up from 14 miles in 2010. So in a 10-year time span, we're moving out 34 more miles. So it's showing areas are expanding a little bit. There's kind of growth, but it's still a lot of in-town movement is going to be happening. So be prepared for that. After selling the home, the next home was 44% bought a larger home, 28% bought a smaller home, and 30% bought the same size home. Median equity earned in a home sold, $70,000. Fantastic numbers. There's a lot of equity right now, which gives sellers a lot of opportunity to put large cash down payments on the new home that's being purchased. 22% of sellers offer home warranties. That's a shockingly small number for me in my eyes, because I've seen a lot of home warranties. Now, over the last year, the things sellers are offering to buyers has definitely dwindled because it is such a seller's market. But I think a home warranty is a huge opportunity to make sure that if anything goes wrong in that property, you're taken care of. 26% of sellers' next home was older than when they purchased it, 61% newer, and 21% about the same size. So kind of an interesting numbers there. We're seeing more people are I don't want to use the word upgrading, but purchasing newer homes than what they currently have. This is a crazy number, guys. 87% were satisfied with the selling process. 64% were very satisfied. 23% were somewhat satisfied. Good numbers. Years, tenure in the home sold was an average of 9 years, up a little bit from, it was about 8 a couple years ago. 7 is what we always hear. But 9 years right now is the tenure in homes that people are usually seeing for the average. 49% of people bought a more expensive home, 27% a less expensive home, and 23% the same size, same price range. So we're seeing definitely a lot of upgrading, some downgrading, and some of more just going to a new area or job relocation. Now, 91% of sellers use an agent or broker. These factors are just crazy town, guys. You need to get some ideas on this and understand. Most important factor when choosing an agent, reputation was number 1 at 31%. Honesty and trustworthiness at 91%. Knowledge of the neighborhood, 13%. Agent is a friend or family, 13%. Association with a particular firm only came in at 4%. Agent seems 100% accessible through technology, 4%. Professional designations, 2%. Now, I'm going to say this about professional designations. I don't think the average person understands the designations. I 100% do not. GRI, CNE, PMI, too many designations out there. That being said, I 100% believe that designations have a value. It has been shown over and over again that an agent gets a designation is 50% more likely to stay in the business than one who does not. There's additional knowledge, additional growth, plus the great networking that you get in those classes. So even though the designation only has a 2% factor of importance on the seller, I think there's a true value to be had in those designations. I personally have a couple. I don't flaunt all of them on my business cards, but I do want to make sure people understand, even though that's a small number, I truly see a value in a designation because it gives you a great opportunity to learn, to network, and to understand the business that much more. Being caring and a good listener came in at 2%, and a shockingly small number, agent's commission is 2%. So everybody out there saying they have to cut commissions crazy. With the right reputation, being honest and trustworthy and knowledgeable, you can still charge a realistic and honest wage for your work. How sellers are found: 37% referred by or a friend's neighbor, friend or family. 27% used the agent previously, 5% from website, 5% referral, 4% open house, 2% referred by employer or relocation company, 1% saw an agent contact info on a sign, 1% direct mail, 1% walked into an office. So, walk-ins are definitely getting lower. 1% newspaper or yellow pages, 1% social media, and 1% social media didn't know. What sellers want most from real estate agents? 20% market home to potential buyers, 19% price homes competitively, 18% find ways to fix up home to sell for more, 16% sell home within specified time frame, and 14% help find buyer for home. Now, we've talked about this. We beat this into our agents' heads time and time again. 72% would definitely use their agent again. 16% probably would. But if we go to the previous numbers, only 27% used the agent previously. So even though realistically 88% of the people said, I would use my agent again, they're not using them because you're not following up with your clients. You're not calling them. You're not telling them, hey, hope you're doing well. Creating some kind of system where they remember to call you 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years from now. This is a telling number. Guys, go back. They want to use you again. They're happy with your service. They're happy with what you've done, but they have forgotten you by the time they're ready to buy another home. You need to make sure you're going in there and creating those systems, using a Brian Buffini, using whatever you want to use so that you're not going out there and trying to reinvent the wheel every time. Because if they've forgotten who you are, they can't send you a referral. They can't tell other people to use you, and they can't use you again when it's your turn. And I've seen it 1,000 times. Hey, I love the agent who sold me my house. Who was it? I don't know. Somebody was wearing glasses. Not very helpful. Was it a woman? Was it a man? What do I need? It's one of those things where we need to understand and know what's going on. This is also kind of crazy. Level of service provided by agents, 78% use a broad range of services, 10% a limited set, and 30% used agents listed homes on the MLS and performed few additional services. I see Kent Bush popped up there with calls, notes, and Popeyes. Extremely valuable. You got to make sure you stay live peace of mind with somebody, because if they're happy with you, people love to give referrals because it makes them look good. It makes them feel important. I'm the guy who knows the guy who is the guy. It's great, but if they don't know who you are, they're not going to refer you. They're not going to think about it. They're not going to do those type of things. This one was crazy too. We hear all the time that there's more and more people being interviewed, but still, number of agents contacted before selecting one, 75% still chose the first person they interviewed. They only interviewed one person, 14% two, 6% three, 4% four, 5 or more, and 1% four. So we're still seeing a huge range across the board. If you get in that interview, you got a 75% chance of winning that listing if you don't blow the interview. So these are huge numbers that you have at your fingertips from the Texas Association of Realtors to be able to use and go through with and make work. The difference over a decade, Texas home sellers, first-time sellers as a percentage overall in 2020 was 27%. 2010 it was 36%. So a huge drop down in first-time sellers in the last 10 years. Age of sellers, median has gone from up 56 to 50, and household income has gone up from 127 from 107. The selling ethnicities, white Caucasian 82% to 89% from 2010. Black or African American 4% stayed the same. Hispanic Latino 11% from 5%. Asian Pacific Islander 4% to 1%, and other 3% from 1%. So we're definitely seeing a lot of not a lot of change, but some different changes of who's purchased homes in the last 10 years and what they're having with them. Remember, 2010 to 2020, that's about the people who were buying homes in 2010, based on that 9-year plan we talked about, are now the ones selling their homes in 2020. So we're seeing more different people purchasing homes, which is fantastic. We're seeing a lot of seeing change. 51% of SBO sales were between sellers and buyers who knew each other. So 51% of every FSBO already knows who the person who's buying the home. You can get a lot more tech information from this if you go to the texasrealestate.com/research. Guys, take advantage of these magazines when they come to you. There are some other really good articles I did want to go into. They talked a lot about the waiver, which I went over in a previous class. This gives you a lot of opportunity and things to know about of how they're working. At this time, that is pretty much all, what I had to go over on that. I'm going to get back over to, as you guys are reading my email, back here, and stop screen. So that's pretty much what I've got, guys. Just take advantage and use the time to think about what you're seeing and how it's working. Brian, are you on at all? I don't. You sneak in every once in a while. Give him an opportunity to come. There he is.
Yeah. So basically, sorry, I have green on green, so I don't have any background today, or I might go headless. So basically, guys, I would just say that, you know, a lot of these things come down to just having a master your art, right? Practice the fundamentals, put those tools and resources that work well for you into action. As you start to grow, as you start to build, then you can add on another layer. When you feel like you've mastered it, you know, I'm always intrigued by people that enter other markets without mastering the one market, right? There's always more market share. And the question is, if that market share is available, why not just go after more of that market share? So what I would suggest is make sure that if you're going to jump into technology, make sure that you're jumping into technology based on your knowledge or your willingness to go into that knowledge. Don't just jump onto something because it's the cool thing right now, because it might not be the cool thing tomorrow. And that's oftentimes people go to a conference, they learn something new, and they come back and we're like, we're going to go 100% here, right? But then they go to another conference and they say, okay, we're going to go 100% there. Well, we never gave enough time to dedicate it. The rule of thumb is everything works if you do it. Right. And if you do it consistently. So just be cautious of that and know. And then concerning the surveys are disasters. I would almost suggest, and we do this on our net sheets, we always mention that a new survey will be ordered with the expectation that if a one does fit, then we can use it, but have the expectation that a survey will be needed, just because if you don't, it's a dangerous habit to get into, and you end up fighting that battle, and it's not a battle you should fight, especially in today's market.
Absolutely. And you know, just going back on what he said, because I love Proverbs or whatever you want to call it. You know, mastery of an item is just basics mastered. You know, I mean, you can't get anything, you know, in football, in the NFL, they're still teaching guys how to tackle. They're still teaching guys how to catch. I mean, you're always going to go back to the beginning stuff. You can always put some spins on it, do that. But guys, there's no secret in this business. You know, how does Brian Burns do so much business? He calls people and says, "Do you want to sell your house?" And make sure he's in front of them when they do. And he answers the phone when they call him back, which could be a class in itself. Realtors don't answer their phones. But guys, hope with some good information. Think about it. Open those magazines. They're not free. They're not garbage. You pay for it. Learn from it and read it. And that's just pretty much all I've got this time. Remember, tomorrow we've got a great class. Kent Bush and I are going to be going over getting that going on. So hope you guys have been enjoying that. And that's all I have for today.
2 o'clock Mountain, 3 o'clock Central.
Exactly. No.
All right, guys.
Yes. All right. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Yep.